It's all come down to this. It's the mini-season finale, episode 6 of X-Files. The episode is called My Struggle 2, written and directed by Chris Carter. One of the biggest, most bombastic, event-filled episodes of the show that they've ever done, and yet, still a cock tease. Ultimately, as much as I enjoyed the episode, it did feel like a giant cock tease, and sort of making the whole mini-series, the whole revival, feel the same.
You mean you're surprised that an X-File episode was a Honey Dick cliffhanger?
Yeah.
That's pretty much classic X-Files.
It is.
And I have no complaints about it. I actually pretty much expected that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That's no surprise for me. I would, of course, like every X-Files fan, like closure. But
well, and just because I didn't like it doesn't mean that I'm like super shocked that it was a cliffhanger. I just hated the cliffhanger that they chose to have. You know?
Why is that?
Because it's been, 15 years? And the legacy of the show, I now realize, is that this is a show that always teases better than it fucks. That's the allure. That's what keeps you coming back. So the cliffhanger is part of it. The fact that this was such a, I don't know, it felt like it was a one-shot. It was setting the table again. And they just chose to have an ending that made me realize when they come back, if they come back for another season, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to watch it, but I know that they're going to cheat their way out of what I just saw. I didn't buy the cliffhanger. I don't think whatever happens next is going to be anything good.
Well, they spell it out for you. Scully can make the antidote for the population, and Mulder could be cured by William.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to cheat their way out of it. If they come back, they just have those two things happen, and then we pick up where we left off.
Right, which is the alien spacecraft or U.S. military spacecraft. We're not sure yet. We've been told that all these spacecraft that we've seen are all from the military, from the conspiracy, and not from aliens. Not only do we have the Fargo moment with the spacecraft over all the main characters, but it's over a major metropolitan bridge in the midst of a panic. So this is happening in front of thousands of people. This is the big public UFOs are real moment that the show never had before. Where do they go from there?
Well, maybe that's where the Joel McHale character is more important than a one-off, because he could be the public sounding board for the series if they come back.
Mm-hmm.
Widespread panic, rumors, conspiracies. They'll show clips from his show, and he'll keep us updated to the extent of the public's knowledge. I mean, the government covers things up well.
Yeah, they do.
So they may not be able to cover everything up, but I'm sure they can explain away a lot of the scary parts of the story to continue going on.
Right. Yeah, and it was just, this episode was so big, it was so epic, it felt like something was actually going to change, and I said when we were watching it, it seems like they're really getting close to a point of no return. Well, they stopped before that point, but I don't know, after everything that happened, if we end up backtracking and going back to, all right, we're solving X-Files again, and we're just proceeding as if everything is normal.
Yeah.
It seems like it's gone a little too far for that. This was too big. It felt like a movie, like the first half of an X-Files movie.
It did. Immigration hatred aside, I agree with most of what you said today. So, I like the second half. I mean, basically, it's a long episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, My Struggle 1, My Struggle 2. Didn't like the first one. Really like the second one.
Yeah.
Overall, if you look at the episode by itself and not as the final chapter in a 6-chapter story, it's a great episode.
Without question.
I mean, it was intense. Just to touch on it, the fight scenes in X-Files and broadcast television in general are usually pretty shitty. Almost embarrassing. This was a really good fight that Mulder had with Cancer Man's stooge.
Yeah, that was good. And there were a lot of great moments in this episode, which was really heavy on Scully. Mulder was kind of the damsel in distress for a lot of it.
You know, I want to touch on that. This whole series is Scully heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, very, very underwhelming for Mulder. Minus the episode where he has a weremonster.
Right.
Minus that episode, Mulder's really been a background player, and I wonder if that is Carter's intention to raise the value of Gillian Anderson so that they'll offer her more money for a season.
Maybe so. That would make sense. Duchovny is sort of automatic.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get his money.
Right.
But obviously, Gillian Anderson, they didn't value enough to offer her enough initially. So if this is all just a pitch for a season or a movie, which I think it is, I think this does a lot to raise the value of Gillian Anderson's character.
Yeah, agreed. As throughout this entire run, the acting of the two leads has been spot on. I thought it was a little shaky in the premiere, but ever since then, even in the episodes that weren't good, they're great, individually or together.
Okay, I got a lot of gay porn to watch, so let's wrap this up real quick. This episode by itself, what do you think? Because then we can move on to I have different opinions on the episode versus the series. Mm. So what's your thoughts on just this episode?
Oh, just this episode, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow, a 9.
Yeah, it
Holy
was
shit.
It was super X-Files-y for the first time. And I'm going so high because, like, as a long-term fan, all the references they made to past plot points, with the smallpox vaccinations and the bees, and of course, as through this whole thing, they're, like, selectively remembering certain details and ignoring other ones. But I like that they threw a lot of old... For, like, the first half of this episode, it felt like they were paying off the series. They went back, and we finally got some good Cancer Man, and what happened to him, it was great. And if I had any confidence in the continuation of the show, then I might even give it a perfect score. But it was great for what it was, and it cements the show's legacy as a cock tease.
What's the least favorite thing about the episode for you?
Probably the fact that for this individual episode, the fact that setting aside it's the finale, I didn't like that there was so little Mulder. Like the Mulder that I love. He's absent for a lot of it, and then he's beat up, and then he's sick. So
yeah, his presence is there, but he's not in character. He's not adding dialogue.
He's on screen,
yeah,
but he's not actually doing anything. He's just present while people talk to him. So, and Anderson, she was on fire. Like, this was her episode, and she gave it her all, but I wish they would have given a little more to Mulder. So, didn't like that.
Okay, what was your favorite part of the episode?
All the callbacks.
Nice.
The way that what was happening now with, these viruses being the result of old plot points of the show. Oh, remember when we did this and this and this?
What was the end year in the original series?
2012. And they finally referenced that.
That was the activation.
Right,
year.
That's when they started this program after all these years of preparation.
Which is a great cover because they never said it was the end of the world in the original series. They said that's when it starts.
Yes.
So the alien implantation of the gene splicing or whatever started, then that would explain all of it.
Yeah. So that was all really good, really X-Files-y stuff. One more real quick drawback, and something that I didn't like in this. It didn't really work for me in this episode. It's not that I didn't like it, but last week's episode where we met Miller and Einstein, it was really cute and funny, and it came off like a joke. And this time, their characters, they recur. They're not a joke. They're like, oh, well, you know who these people are. We can just throw them into the mix.
Yeah.
But it was weird seeing two joke characters now like, oh, no, we're part of the team.
Well, that's... and the things I liked about the episode, that's one of the things I really liked was the tone switching from funny, snarky, kind of almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm feel to completely devoid of humor.
Right.
I mean, this was as serious as it gets.
Definitely.
And it was a very old school tone to
and
it.
Lauren Ambrose was very much toned down from last week.
Yeah.
Where she was more brash and sassy and in your face. Now she was still that, but on a much more reasonable level.
Agreed. And Miller was he was more of a caretaker rather than like an antagonizer.
Yeah.
So I like that part. I definitely got used to the humor, but I think that goes all to the auditioning of the series. Is like, hey, we have these funny episodes for you. We can have a monster episode for you, but we can also give you the conspiracy.
Yeah.
So as a fan, this miniseries has given me a lot. Again, I'm going episode only right now. I give this episode. I actually was going to give it a 9 originally. I don't like having the same things as you other than herpes, so I'm going to give it an 8.
But it would have been 9 if you would have gone first.
Yeah, I'm just a contrarian, so...
Okay.
But I was teetering. I was honestly a little bit more towards 8. Things that I really liked was that fight scene for X-Files. I'm still amazed at the choreography. That was just a surprisingly good fight scene. Things that keep me to an 8. One would be Miller and Einstein. I agree with you. I didn't love their characters in this episode. I love the characters. I love the episode they were in, but I feel when you have characters like Skinner, who has been non-existent in the series, I wish we would have seen more Skinner.
Yeah.
And less of the new guys, girls / whatever. So that's one thing that kept it from being a 9 for me. The Stallone Lithgow cliffhanger angle, like I said, that's expected. That didn't bother me at all. The Spartan virus, I didn't like how that was this long-term plan reveal. I wish there was little name drops earlier for this, and it just seems like that's something we should have been aware of, the name.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't love that. And Joel McHale, his acting was solid, but he always looks like he's 5 seconds away from a sarcastic comment to me. So it takes me out of his scenes. I don't think he's bad in the series. I just think he's miscasted. So
yeah, fair point.
And you talked about how this whole episode is a tease. I agree. It's like a Russian brothel with slave traded escorts. You get more teasing in this episode than you would in that bullshit. But again, that's what we expect. So I give it an 8 out of 10. I was really satisfied with the episode. Now that the episode is over, looking at the series, that completely changes my opinion. So how about you?
It made me think about earlier episodes in a different light. And actually not even the individual episodes so much as just the approach that they took pisses me off. So I'm actually going to come down harder on a couple of episodes than I previously did. I liked it at the time, now maybe I like it a little less.
Well, I think some obvious series missings on this 6-episode story arc we would agree on. One would be Skinner's lack of
Right.
appearances. I don't understand it. He offers so much and is such a great character.
It feels like that they wanted the actor involved, but they forgot to write a part for him. So they just had him show up and they fed him a couple of lines. Like, he gets a few lines throughout the season, but they don't do anything with it, you know?
Another thing we had talked a couple times, and we got zero payoff, minus the cliffhanger ending, which perhaps could pertain to it, but I expected by the end of the episode that we would have heard something about William.
Mm.
So for me, that's a big disappointment in this series, since there was so much attention drawn to the parents missing their adopted son and all these angles, and then at the end it's revealed that he has alien DNA. We don't even get to see him, not to mention hear from him or have some sort of an action from him. So that to me was a disappointment.
That was beyond a disappointment. That's one of my major problems with this season is just the approach of it from a storytelling perspective is that I know X-Files always does the cliffhanger. That's fine. That's what they do. That's their legacy. But a story still has to have a beginning, middle, and end, and a great cliffhanger gives you a little bit of payoff, but then leaves you wanting more. What we got here was the beginning and middle of a story. And if they continue, but then we'll get more middle before maybe circling an ending. But it just sort of stopped in the middle. That pertains specifically to William because we got all this build-up. And then it wasn't mentioned. If and when it comes back, we'll probably get a bunch more build-up before he shows up now. And that's unfair. If you are coming back as a 6-episode special event, then you're either just fishing. You're just fishing. Hey, give us more money so we can do it on. But you're fucking with your viewers, and it's bullshit. It ended up being a huge time suck because, in terms of this 6-episode miniseries, it didn't go anywhere.
It seems like if you have 6 hours to tell a story, you don't waste a minute on anything that's not completely necessary.
Yep.
And I feel like this series has thrown away not just minutes, but hours of time that could have been dedicated to furthering the story and building on the next story.
Yep.
So that's something, as a series, I think there was 2 great episodes, and then there was 2 not so good episodes, and then I think there was 2 bad episodes. So that's, out of 6, there's only 2 that I deem worthy of this miniseries.
I would agree. This one and then the Were Monster.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, like those were worthy X-Files, and as much problem as I had with the ending of that final episode, what it meant, like by itself, it was one of the best conspiracy episodes they've ever done. It was fantastic,
for sure.
And then the Were Monster is one of the all-time great Monster of the Week episodes they've ever done.
And this season, they've done a lot of insightful writing. The Were Monster, as far as Mulder's beliefs and his theories and the way he looks at life in general, there's a lot of deeper parts of that dialogue in that episode. I rewatched it, and the Were Monster is an analogy for Fox's view, because the Were Monster is giving you a different perspective. We never see the world through the werewolf's eyes. It's always we see the werewolf through our eyes.
Right.
Mulder's not us. Mulder's a different being. We got to kind of see more of how Mulder sees the world through this Monster of the Week character. And it kind of shows you how different Fox's perspective is on things, and that's why he's always trying to give benefits of the doubt and see things differently, and that's why he's more open-minded. And it's kind of poetic in a way, because our society, normally, we are very close-minded and just dismissive of things. So there's lots of that episode that I thought, this series does a really good job of, I think, building a better understanding of Scully and Mulder.
Right. That was That was the strong point throughout, the whole thing was their relationship and the way not even the way it was written, the way the actors pulled it off.
But being a good, a diehard fan, I feel I have a good understanding of these characters already, so I don't really feel that I need to be spoon-fed anything.
Mm-hmm.
I want meat and potatoes. I don't want kale chips and seaweed. Give me the substance.
Right. Yeah, and there was a lot of filler, for being a 6-episode special event, returning to Fox for one time only, 50% filler. That's just come back for a 2-episode event. If they would have done My Struggle 1 and 2 and sort of rewritten that as one like TV movie event,
yeah,
that would have been enough to get them renewed for a full season. And I would have cut them a lot more breaks as like a one-shot sort of cock tease thing.
Sure.
But 6 hours, as you said, 6 hours is a considerable amount of time to tell a story, and you don't need that much filler.
I have a couple thoughts on this. One is that with modern era technology and social media, they could have done just like you said, the My Struggle, a 2-hour event, however they wanted to promote it, and they could have did a viral campaign of 15-minute webisodes, and they could have did the Were Monster, they could have did the Shit Man or Garbage Guy, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have did these online, and fans like us would have lost our shit and jerked off watching them.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have had to waste any broadcast time or money. And then if they did good, they could have aired those as actual episodes on TV. If not, they could have just not shown them on television.
A few weeks ago, you made an offhand comment where you referred to this new season as possibly it was just Chris Carter doing an X-Files sampler to try and generate interest.
Yes.
And that feels like the best call of anything we've said through any of these podcasts. It ends up hitting like everything that made the X-Files great, not all at once, sort of spread out with a lot of filler, but it was a sampler. They gave you all these different kinds of X-Files episodes.
Yeah.
Didn't pay anything off because I guess that's the intent.
Well, it doesn't matter how good the dipping sauce if the thing that you're dipping tastes like shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately, he didn't want to give us a delicious morsel to dip because that would be the main course. You don't dip filet and barbecue sauce.
Right.
You dip French fries and deep fried bullshit. And this was a lot of deep fried bullshit.
But there's also one other option, which is that this was his idea, and he doesn't know what happens next. Like, this is the big ending in his head that would lead to everybody wanting more, and it's perfect. And then where does it go from here? I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Well, I think Chris Carter, and now that we're talking about the series right now, and I have 2 different ratings. Talk about making shit complex. Okay, I'm going to cheat on this one. I have the X-File fanboy rating of the series, and then I have the businessman rating of the series. And from a business standpoint, I think what Chris Carter did is quite brilliant. I don't know, did I say that right? Brilliant? It didn't sound right coming out. I'm starting to get a bigger tongue. It's extra DNA I think I got. Speaking of big tongues, am I the only one that thought of when they said the Spartan virus and explained that I kind of wanted Jenny McCarthy to be the spokesperson just for like the Spartan virus?
That'd have been funny.
Is that bad? I don't know. Just thought about that. I think Chris Carter, he's giving Fox all the ammunition to give a new season, but I think even more brilliantly is he's auditioning for Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime.
Right.
I mean, fuck Fox. There's lots of alternatives nowadays.
Lots of fish in the sea these days.
Yeah, so by him doing that business-wise, it's brilliant because he's pitching to all these other mediums, which I think gives Fox even more desire to renew the episode, because why would they want to give this to anybody else?
Sure. Well, and even more than just a show, X-Files is now a viable brand again.
Absolutely.
Which means, different kinds of games and any other licensing deals. So, yeah, the license to print money has been renewed. So, you were circling talking about your rating, but for the season, but you didn't get to it because you said you got a businessman.
Okay, fair enough. Putting the pressure on. All right, I'll go first. Ladies first. I give the series, as a super fan of the X-Files, I'm going to give it a 5. Now, this rating was a 3 before this last episode. And I know that's low, but that's because I just took all the episodes and I only liked the Weremonster episode before this episode. So I was giving that 3 based on that episode alone.
Mm-hmm.
Really didn't like most of the other episodes. This last episode was so strong that it bumped it up to a 5 overall for me. Too Little Too Late, I think, is my best description for the final episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've gotten just enough to hit those nostalgic ball rubs. They nestled me a little bit, so I'm filling up, but I'm not fully hard. So I'd give it a 5. Now, from the business end, like I said, I had 2 different ratings. Now, as far as Chris Carter goes and the pitching of the renewal, I give this a 9. Because the Weremonster episode, that's a classic. That's an all-time episode. My Struggle 2 is a great episode.
Yeah.
So if I'm watching this and thinking about picking it up and see the potential for humor, originality, cleverness, and then the intensity and the conspiracy angle, plus a Monster of the Week aspect that we got, the spin-off capabilities of Miller and Einstein, which I didn't love as a fan, but if I'm thinking of potential like Netflix, we got two different series right there.
Yeah.
Not giving us enough Skinner, teasing Skinner where it's like, oh, this is a great character, we can have more of him. And if they do the spin-off with Einstein and Miller, maybe Skinner's one of the main 3 guys.
Sure.
So much potential.
He's like
there.
the captain in Law and Order. That's always
He's Mr. Belding. He's Mr.
Comes
Belding.
out of his office.
Skinner could be Mr. Belding in a spin-off with these fucking nobodies, and you have a washed-up NFL player in it. And then it's, he becomes a star. So much potential. There's so much good shit that we can get. The William angle, even though we got no payoff. The cliffhanger ending, the UFO, the stem cell, the alien DNA, all brilliant.
Yeah.
Unanswered questions about Scully's immortality. Now she's got alien DNA that furthers that story for me. There's unanswered questions about Scully and Mulder's family, Scully's mom, and the weird shit and her brother. There's a lot of things in there that they can run with.
Yep.
I really like all that stuff. So I think overall they did a really good job with rebranding it.
Mm-hmm.
And for new fans, I think this has been very good.
It sets up a new way forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Overall, I just have one rating. It combines sort of all that stuff. I give it a 6 out of 10.
That's very fair.
Yeah. And I just have like the same scale I use for everything, where a 5 is average. And this was better. This was better than average, even factoring
You're
in...
a 2.
What's that?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Everything that I... disliked about it, the episodes I didn't like, there were good ones. Still, overall, it was better than average.
Sure.
I watch a bunch of TV. I see plenty of garbage. This wasn't garbage. I wanted it to be better. And like I said, that the way they did that cliffhanger ending, in which it was just like, oh, we're just going to stop here. It felt like it was stopping in the middle. I'm not super confident that he has the back end of that story worked out yet, and he'll just figure it out if he gets the money to. So, didn't like it.
Okay.
So, overall, the season left a bad taste in my mouth just for, like, the final shot.
Are you sure that was the season?
It wasn't you. You were eating pineapple that day.
Yeah, it was. Lots of spicy shit. Cayenne pepper.
Yeah, 6 out of 10 overall.
For the sake of continuity, I'll combine my 2 and median it up to a 7. So overall, for whatever reasons, I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. And that's fair. There were a lot of great moments. Um,
All right, whore your Twitter real quick.
oh yeah, I'm Nateflix on Twitter and Facebook.
I am at Cleverlang on Twitter, and I am in your closet
Yeah, that's a good way to end it.
because I came out of mine.